I'm the science and math tutor in this video for my zoology class. I normally have zoology from 6 p.m. on Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So the last class, what we did was protisters. We started like protisters, that is protozoan and stuff. So we did that one, and we started under the kingdom Animalia. Kingdom Animalia, we just did like one phylum on the kingdom Animalia. So last class part, it was just my first class after spring break. So I just try at least look at my notes and refresh my mind from what we did before spring break, and just like read a little bit about what we're about to do. So when I went into the class, I try and took all the notes that we're supposed to check. She sent the notes for the protozoan at Blackboard. So she said we're supposed to check it and just like copy it on our notebooks and try to take a picture and send it to her so that she can grade it and for this one for some point. So she just like go over that like really fast, so we didn't take notes about this one on the register. So she just try and go over it really fast. So this one, when we get to the kingdom Animalia, we just started one phylum yet. So the phylum, once he was doing that, I try to take like notes as much as possible. So after that, we had a lab. It was like a really fun lab. We dissect the sac. It was really cool. We find like babies and stuff inside. So today, what I just wanted to do is just like go over some of the stuff we did the last class. After the class too, went back to my dorm and checked my notes, try and study like really good to be able to understand what we did in the class. So I'm gonna try and go over some of what we did. That is protozoan, like this thing, kingdom protista, we get protozoan and stuff. But those phylums, I'm gonna go over that, and the first animal phylum we did. There's like a lot of animal phylums, but we just did one last class, so I'm just gonna go over that. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and what we did that day was we went. Okay, the major classification of living organisms. That's where we started, but we just did like one kingdom. We did the kingdom. We just go over the kingdom Protista and just did one phylum under the kingdom Animalia. So I'm just gonna go ahead and list like the divisions of living organisms. So the major division of living seems is like one. One is like we get animals. So number one, we get animals. We get number two, plants. Number three, protista. Number four, and we get number five, bacteria. Yeah, these are the five major classifications of living organisms. So these are the five major ones. So under these five major ones, what we did in last class was the protista. So protista is the protozoans. So under these protozoans, we did like different phylums of under protozoans. So most of these protozoans are like unicellular organisms, like the amoeba, the paramecium, the euglena. Most of them are like unicellular organisms. That's like single cell organisms. That's what unicellular means. Most of them are unicellular organisms. So we get different phylums. Like after a kingdom, this is the order. You get a kingdom, you go down to a phylum, go down to class. So that's how it goes. Like you just go down kingdom, phylum, and class. So that's what we're gonna talking about most of the time. We're not going to go to like family, order, and species order. We're not gonna go to that. So we just concentrating on the kingdoms, the phylums, and the class, like for right now. So the kingdoms are like these five are the five kingdoms of living organisms. That's like the five kingdoms. So we just did like the kingdom protista. So the kingdom protista is like the protozoans, unicellular organisms. Unicellular organisms are protozoans. All protozoans are like unicellular organisms. So under protozoans, we get like different phylums under protozoans. So the main phylums we did under protozoans were this one of the first one was chlorophyta. That is a phylum under protozoans. The other one is Celiophora. And we get another one, Euglenozoa. And there's another one, Dinoflagellate. And there's another one, Apicomplex. So these are the main phylums we spoke about under this thing, under the kingdom protista. These are the main phylums we talk about. That is Chlorophyta, Celiophora, Euglenozoa, Dinoflagellate, and Apicomplexes. So those are the main ones we spoke about. So these unicellular organisms, most of them, they reproduce by this one, asexual. Their reproduction is asexual, most of them. So asexual is like, there's the types of asexual reproduction. It's like budding. So it's like fission. It's like fission. And budding. So these are the main like sexual reproduction in this one in protozoans. Most of them reproduce asexually, but there's like we get sexual reproduction to occurs among some of them, but not like all of them. Most of them reproduce asexually, but sexual reproduction occurs in some of them. So the type of sexual reproduction that occur is it's like involves gamete nuclei, consists of a haploid and a nucleus. It's like what sexual reproduction has typically involved like two, one from a male, one from a female, just like combined to form this thing, to form a zygote that develops to a new organism. So most of them are like self-fertilization. They like fertilize themselves. They get both the male and the female parts, so they just like fertilize themselves. Okay, so we talk about these phylums. This is the first phylum is Chlorophyta. Chlorophyta, they contain like chlorophyll. That means like chlorophyll is what the plants contain, that what they use to produce their own food. So they contain like chlorophyll, so they produce like their own food. That is the ones under the phylum Chlorophyta. So we get Euglenozoa. They get like a pellicle. A pellicle is like a stiff membrane around them, and they get like a flagellate. A flagellate is kind of like a tail-like structure that they use for movement. Then most of them live like example of them is like euglena. It lives in fresh water. The example of Celiophora, example of Chlorophyta is this thing. It's volvox. They live in a colony. The example of Euglenozoa is euglena. Euglena is like a a unicellular organism. It normally lives in fresh water. It gets like a pellicle. There's a stiff outer membrane, and it gets like a tail-like structure called flagellate. So the other one is celiophora. I talk about this one, chlorophylla, euglenozoa. This one is celiophora. Celiophora is their surface is covered by what they call cilia. Cilia is like a little hair-like structure called cilia. That's what their bodies are covered with. So we get this one's dinoflagellates. Dinoflagellates. These ones too are like a phylum under Protista. They get like two flagella. That is the one that the euglena get, that tail-like structure they use for movement. They get like two of them. Some of them are covered with cellulose plates. They live like they live in like marine, that's like salt water, and they live in like fresh water. Some of them live in fresh water. We get this one, apicomplexa. They live inside a host. They're like parasites. They live inside a host. They get no cilia, no flag or flagella. They don't get like cilia or flagella. Complex life cycle. They get like a complex life cycle. Okay, after that, that is like all about, that's all we spoke about, the protozoan, that is the kingdom Protista. So we moved like, after that, we went to the, after that, we went to the animal kingdom. After that, we went to the animal kingdom. So in the animal kingdom, we always spoke about one phylum because there's like a lot of animal phylums. There's like a lot of them. You get the vertebrates, like the insects. The insects are under this one. Under like an arthropods, we get arthropods. We get vertebrates. It's like a lot of phylums. So we only spoke about one of them. I don't know. She said I don't know over 30. I don't know, is it 32 phylums? I don't know, around the end. So it's like a lot of them. So we only spoke about the first one, our last class. That one was phylum Prorifera. Phylum Prorifera. That's what we spoke about the last class. That is like sponges. That's what we spoke about the last class. Phylum Prorifera, which includes like sponges. They normally live in water. That's what they live in. So they like filter feeders. They feed like by getting the water in, like they get like special stuff that filter the stuff and remove the food out of it. They're like filter feeders. They live in marine, that is like salt water or fresh water. They normally live like way inside. They normally like live like way inside at the bottom of the ocean, like most of the places they live, because they don't need like sunlight for survival. So most of them live like way at the bottom, and they feed on like the the residue or the stuff that is from the other organisms. That's what they normally feed on. Okay, this sponges too is like, this is the phylum, but phylum too is divided into like different classes. So there's like different classes of sponges. There's like a different classes of this phylum Protifera. There's like, okay, most of these sponges, that's like most of them reproduce by giving birth. That is like viviparous. They reproduce the young ones by giving birth. That is called viviparous. But so there's like some that are oviparous, means like they lay eggs, they get like eggs and stuff. There's like some that are oviparous. But most of them reproduce by giving birth. So they reproduce sexually. That's like most of them reproduce sexually, but there's like some of them do that reproduce, like they get like asexual, both sexual and asexual reproduction. So the asexual reproduction they get is like regeneration, fragmentation. Let me write it down. Sexual. Mm, They're like monoecious. It means they get like both monoecious and they're viviparous. That is most of them, and there's like some that are oviparous, means they lay eggs. No, oviparous, lay eggs. Okay, the asexual, they reproduce asexually too. The asexual reproduction is they get regeneration, fragmentation, budding, and gemulation. Okay, these are the asexual form of reproduction the sponges have. So this sponges phylum too is divided into different classes. So the classes we talk about are Calcaria, we get Calcaria, we get Hexactinellida, and we spoke about Demospongia. So 95% of these are the classes. Calcaria, Hexactinellida, we get Demospongia. So these are the like main classes we spoke about. This one, 95% of the sponges are like under this class, Demospongia. 95% of them are under the class. This one is the biggest class of sponges that we have. It's like 95%, almost all of them are under these ones. They act like skeletal frames. They act like skeletal frames. Skeletal is like you get like a strong, kind of like a bones-like structure. Skeletal frames. They act like skeletal frames. Like those skeletal frames, they may be like round. These sponges, they may be round with sponging. That's what they call sponging. They may be like surrounded with what they call sponging. This class here, Hexactinellida, they also like, they call them like glass sponges. They not this ones normally live like way deep in the ocean. They live like way deep inside the ocean because they don't like need sunlight to survive, so they just live like way deep inside where sometimes sunlight don't even get. Okay, this one's the calcaria. They get calcareous spongy speckles. That is, they get like a covering that is composed of calcium carbonate. That is composed of calcium carbonate. So they get that kind of covering. So I don't know, probably that's why they call it calcaria. So see, these are the main classes of the sponges that we spoke about in the last class. So that's where we stop at. So see this one. See, put like some of the notes, some of the protozoa notes on Blackboard. So we should like just go in there and copy some of the notes in our in our notebooks and take a picture and send it through Blackboard. We will get grades for that. Okay, if anyone need like anything, they can come down at the Nationality Center. At the Nationality, it's at the Oli Center on the third floor. There's like a lot of tutors there who tutoring like different subjects. So if anyone need anything or any help in any subject, you can come down there at any time. There's like people there that will help.